Welcome to the sports world with Patrik. Today we have an exciting guest, one of the most talented and hardworking players in the game, Jesper Ohrvall. Jesper, you've had quite the journey in professional hockey from your early days on the ice to now being recognized as a key player in the sport. We're excited to have you here today. Let's start. Let's start by diving into your story. How did your love of hockey begin, and what was the moment you realized this game would be your passion and your career?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here, and I mean it's always fun to discuss hockey with the guys. But for me personally, how everything started, it's actually it's kind of a funny story. When I was a kid in the town, you would go to the rink and you will leave $1 and you were allowed to skate. And when my younger brother was born, uh, it was an easy babysitter for my mom to just bring me to the rink and put me out there. So it started off that way. I started skating, and then I saw the hockey guys. They were having practice afterwards, and my mom couldn't get me to go home. So one of the coaches there thought I was doing pretty well on the skates, even though I wasn't old enough. But it turned out that he let me come practice with the team. So that's how everything started.
And of course, you grew up in Sweden, and Sweden, as of now, has been sort of growing to be the next powerhouse in hockey in general. So, when you were growing up, what was your experience like developing as a hockey player in such a hockey centric country?
I mean, it's kind of a cool experience to start with, but it's crazy, when you start on your first real team when you're like 6 years old. It's like 100 kids out there. It's crazy, like it's almost no spot on the ice. But I mean, I think just like for Sweden in general, we've been really good at like developing and like getting out the basics to all the kids like at an early age. Like we're really good schooled. You can see that when you start having Swedes coming all over the world and playing. Like we have a good schooling from back home, and that obviously helps a lot. And I mean, it's like you said, it's been growing lately. We're kind of a small country, but we developing a lot of really good hockey players. So we must be doing something right from an early age.
Yeah. And then if you could, from like your very early days on, and some of the current moment, what are some key moments or turning points in your career that shaped you as a player that you are today?
Oh, plenty. Like I think every season for me, it's like since I was like maybe 14, 15, I've had experiences that make me go to a different team or make me want to go to the States. Like, obviously, it was a big deal for me, and I kind of wanted to go. I actually wanted to go even earlier before I finished high school, but I wasn't allowed from my mom and dad. So, but lucky for them, I finished high school back home and then went to college. So, I mean, all those kind of big moves has been like something that obviously shaped my career. But something special that I'm really proud of right now is my college years. Like for me, it's awesome to be able to have both my bachelor's and my master's to fall back on whenever I'm done with hockey. So now for me, it feels like really good to just be able to enjoy my time on the ice and not like need to rush or focus on stuff that is gonna come after. It just feels really good to have it all set up and have something to fall back on.
Yeah, and I remember when you played at UAH the year that I was there. Um, I'll never forget. I was like, "Can we have him for another year? Can we keep him for another year to play here?" Like,
Yeah.
you played really well. I think I was there for a few practices during the season, and I saw. I was like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
we,
I
we,
really
we
enjoyed my time there, and like obviously it was cool for me. Like from back home, you're from Sweden, it's cold, everything. You like get dressed, you almost want to go in the rink because it's cold, and it was totally different experience in Alabama. You're wearing shorts and t-shirt to the rink, and like I thought I was awesome, so I would definitely have stayed another year if I could.
oh yeah, yeah." I don't necessarily like the warm and cold. I would rather it be snowing and like 0 degrees Celsius all year round. That's my preference in the weather.
For
But
Christmas,
then
at
of
least
course,
it's a little good with the snow, but otherwise, I will take the heat. I would say.
oh yeah, but like you mentioned, you've played high school. You started off playing in Sweden, and then you sort of moved over to Canada, or not in Canada, to the United States, and you sort of been all over the world, playing hockey. So, um, how would you describe your playing style? Because it's had to change over the course of time as you get adjusted to new systems. And what do you consider your biggest strengths on the ice?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you develop every year, and I think that's something that is fun with hockey and fun for me. Like, I'm getting older, but I still feel like I'm getting better year by year, and you get to learn different part of the games. And for me, I always been good with the puck, and the last few years, I think that I've been able to get a better role, even like without the puck, playing more minutes on the penalty kill and the defensive side of the game. So that's also been fun to being able to like develop those parts as well. But like you said, if you look for the strength, like I feel for me, I've been I've been pretty good with the puck lately. Either if it comes to guys that put it on my tape too, I like to score. Obviously, I trust my shots, so the offensive skills has always like been my go to kind of.
And then, are there any players that you've looked up to or modeled your game after?
Oh, plenty. But like I remember, like especially as a kid when Patrik came to the NHL. I mean, that was a deal breaker for me. I watched him a lot and how he moves and how he passes, and I thought he was really good. But obviously, like growing up as a kid too in Sweden, Peter Forsberg, Mats Sundin, like all those guys, has been following you since you were a small little kid. So that's always names that've been important to you.
Yeah, and I know, with the way some kids look up, there's probably somebody out there looking up to you, like, oh, I want to be just like him. You know, I want to play just like him. But since you've played in various leagues and countries, how do you adapt to the different playing styles from the European model to the American model to the Canadian model to really anywhere you've been? Because we all know that the competition levels there are also different, and the environments. So, how do you sort of adapt to the differences in playing style, competition levels, and environments?
Yeah, I mean it's in the beginning I thought it was kind of hard, like especially like you go over to the States for the first time, the smaller rinks, like coming from Sweden, that was a big change. But then it once again when I came back from the States, it was back to the bigger ice, and now the leagues I've been in a couple of years ago, like in the UK or here in Germany, there is both like a couple small ones, but most the big ones. So for me, it's been kind of great to have a lot of year from on like all different sides of the gate, more than North American that is straight lines, or the European that maybe goes like a little more east to west. So it's like for me, it's kind of been an easy transition just because it's been like part of my game growing up, the bigger rink and then like the smaller rinks and everything. Obviously, there is very different too in the physical level. Like when I was in the UK, it was very much like the back going back to the US again, while other places in Europe is a little less physical, I would say. But it also comes with being able to adapt and just like go with the flow a little bit, like listen to the guys that've been around the leagues, like try to talk to Swedish guys that have played in the leagues before, or like the guys on your team, they've been awesome, like try to help me out, like to adapt as quick as possible. And not only like on the game side, even like as a culture, like every country is kind of different, and obviously you want to fit in anywhere you go. So but the guys on every team has been awesome taking care of me, so that helped a lot.
And then, since when you were in high school, and then you go to college and continue on your career as you are at the moment, what was the most challenging adjustment that you've had to make in your hockey career, um, if you've got one?
uh the most challenging one. I mean, it's always for me. I've been going through like a couple of injuries. That is always like no fun. Part of I've been out like a little bit longer, and that's obviously always tough. But for me, I've been again good support like from both like the guys on the teams I've been to at the time and the staff around and like helping out. So it's been like it worked out fine. Otherwise, uh, I don't know. The hardest the hardest part was probably maybe to take the step to move to the US because it was such a far away from home. And I'm really close, really a family guy, so that was always like a hard time. But my family was very supportive and helped out a lot, so that will work out well as well.
Yeah, and so obviously, being a family man, and the way the sport of hockey is, how we sort of treat every player, every teammate, every coach, every referee as sort of a family. What do you think makes a great teammate, and how do you contribute to the team culture, both on and off the ice?
I mean, for me, it's probably the two biggest things is empathy and trust. Like like the guys that I've been around, the really good guys has good empathy, being able to like make sure that other guys are having their time that they need to have and help them out, even though they always guys might not always say something, but they notice and they see what's going on with the guys on the team, and they also have trust that you can always come talk to them and they will have help you and they will keep it between you guys. Like you don't need to spread the word if something going on. Like if you're struggling with something, like you want to be able to help, but you want to do it between those persons that it needs to be in between. So, and for me personally, like I try to be that guy that I have had guys help me before, like older guys. So now when I'm a little bit older, I hope that the young guys go know they can always come to me with anything, and they would trust that I will help them in any way I could. And I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable around the team and having a good time, because if we're gonna perform on the ice, it's very important that we like have a good time off the ice and enjoy the time with each other. So, and obviously I've been fortunate enough to be an assistant captains on a few teams in my career here in leadership groups. So hopefully, I mean, it seems like I've been doing a decent job at least. So
And you just mentioned this, being a leader on a team. It takes a lot to be a leader on a team. Um, but how do you sort of approach those leadership roles on the teams that you've been a part of?
what do you mean by approach? Like how I try to come about it, or like how I try to manage?
Yeah,
For
the
me,
man, the man. Yeah.
for me, it's just come pretty natural. I think guys that I come to a team, they notice that I cannot take that kind of role from the beginning, even though I don't have a letter on my jersey. And then somehow it just ended up in the position where they given me one. And for me, it's like obviously fun to have that letter or like do be a part of a leadership group, but it wouldn't change anything. Like for me, I would still do the same thing without a letter to try to make sure we have the good environment and that we need to like to win.
And then I do also have this question here for you. With all the teams that you have played for, and all the memories you've made around the world, is there? Can you share one of the most memorable moments or achievements in your hockey career so far?
Yeah, it's a definitely like hands down. This is an easy question to answer, and for me, when I grew up, it was always a dream to play with my brother, and we got to play one year at RPI together. And the first goal I scored when he passed me, that's hands down the most memorable moment of my hockey career for sure. So yeah, that moment really means a lot to me.
Yeah, and then so um, obviously playing with your brother really means a lot. Because it's not just family. That's not just a family member. That's a teammate. I guess it's more so family.
Yeah,
Um, but you always have those special moments because the parents are possibly going to be there,
yeah,
and that's always a special moment for the parents. But then of course on the other side, hockey has it's really tough from time to time, depending on how many hits you take in a year or not. And then it can be mentally exhausting when you do it at the college level, even at the professional level.
yeah.
So how do you sort of prepare yourself mentally and physically for a long season?
Yeah, I mean, physically, I've been working with a personal trainer back home in the summer for a long time, and by the age now, when you get up, you've been doing it a lot of summers. You kind of get to know your body, and you know what you need, and you know what you want to focus on more and not. So, but it's always nice to have someone to discuss it with too, and put together a plan and everything. And on the mental side of it, I've been actually using a lot of like the resources around the team, psychologists that we've been able to talk to that we had set up for me. And the last couple of years, I started meditating a lot, and that actually helped me a lot. So nowadays I meditate every day, and I think that has actually been like a big part of like helping me perform on the ice lately. So
And then, so I do have this question. What advice would you give to younger players about training and improving their game? Who sort of want to see, who sort of want to be the next, you know, Jesper Ohrvall, or their own person?
yeah, I mean, for me, when I look back at when I was a kid, the times I remember the most was the times when you were like not in a like a scheduled practice, like when we were up there in the evenings just stepping on the ice with the guys and like try to like get better, but it was like not organized. It was like on your own, you wanted to be there. And I think maybe the culture changed a little bit, and it's harder to get ice times, it's harder to do, so it's more, everything is so much more organized. So I would just say like try to get out and try to have fun with it as much as you can, and like have those type of moments to help you develop, and like those type of moments like motivate you to like to get better. And also like obviously for me, like yeah, obviously it was a dream to make it to the NHL, but I didn't. And you can have a lot of fun with hockey anyways. You can play pro all over the world, you can experience a lot, and like hockey have given me so much that I'm grateful for. So I mean, it's not just one way to do about it. It's like find your own way how you want to do it, and then enjoy it. So yeah.
And then, obviously, being from Sweden, and with the with how great Sweden has been the last few years, whatever it's at the World Juniors, or if it's at the World Championship, and you guys sort of all play a big role in that. But what are your current thoughts on the what are your thoughts on the current state of hockey in Sweden, uh, in Sweden and globally? And are there any changes or trends that you find exciting?
Yeah, I mean, obviously hockey is doing well in Sweden, and like everything we have had a lot of success in on international levels, and even our obviously our leagues back home is very good. But for me personally, like what I see exciting is that the change in people, Swedes going and playing in different countries. Like for me, it was obviously a few other guys that was outside of Sweden when I went to college and stuff too. But I see the last couple of years, like the leagues around Europe, there's more and more Swedes coming here and seeing how much better the hockey has been in all over Europe, and can see that it's like a different opportunity to do something, and maybe actually having a better a better time, a better life than they would have playing back home. So that's kind of exciting for me to see, and like just for me, like that I was maybe a little bit before the herd to leave Sweden and do something different. But and I mean, for me, speaking from my experience, I will 100% suggest that if you get the opportunity to go travel somewhere and play in a different country and experience that, to take that opportunity.
And then, who are some young Swedish players that you think could make a big impact in the NHL, or yeah, in the NHL, and could help um, with growing hockey in Sweden on top of the global series that they normally host?
Oh, we obviously have plenty of them, but I think Lekkerimäki, like the guy on Canucks right now, is a pretty interesting player to watch. And same with his, we have another D man, Brännström there that I think is a little bit underrated. He's very skilled, a little bit smaller, but it would be fun to see what he can do if he can get a really good role in the NHL. So yeah, those two guys and the Canucks is fun to follow.
And then, going back a little bit on this, but so where do you see your career going in the next few years, and what are your personal goals in the sport?
I mean, that's a kind of a hard question to answer because the last few years I've been signing a 1 year deal every time. So it's been a lot of change. It's been about a lot of possibilities every year, and I still think that's a lot of fun. I enjoy what I'm doing, getting experience different culture, hockey cultures, people culture, like countries, and I'm seeing myself doing that for another few years. Then we'll see what happens if I maybe decide to sign a longer term contract somewhere, or if I still decide to go to 1 year. But yeah, I definitely see myself around Europe for a couple more years.
And then you were just talking about culture. You know, the hockey culture. Sometimes people are like, "Well, that's not the right way to do stuff," or so. But how has the hockey culture changed over the course of the years that you've been playing?
For me personally, I feel like it gets better and better. Obviously, yeah, it's hard to look back at it, but I also think it's a society thing. It's been we've been talking more about mental health stuff. We've been talking more about mental health as a society for men. How's it been going? And like it's a lot of men are overrepresented in suicide rates and everything. And you've been seeing like still a couple of cases. There was one young guy in Sheffield I remember a couple of years ago and the struggle mentally to kill himself. Like you always see it, it's still tough sometimes, but I think we're better at talking about stuff and better at airing stuff, and like maybe we have better resources too. But I think we just need to keep moving in that direction, and that we need to be good people. I mean, we're all hockey players, but at the end of the day, for me at least, is the most important thing is that we're good people. So I think if we can have that approach to it, then we will keep going in the right direction.
Yeah, and you were just talking about society and the ways recently hockey has sort of been reaching out to talk about the mental health and making sure everybody's aware that it's okay not to be okay. Um, but how can hockey be used to promote that social change?
I mean, obviously, hockey, just as any other sport, is brings a big community around it, and I think hockey in special has been like a very macho kind of environment. So it's a good environment to get this change of perspective into. So I just think that hockey can be a great outlet to lead that change, and I hope we can do that in the future.
And then so I do have this question. So outside of hockey, what are some of your hobbies or interests?
Oh,
You a big video game guy or more of a hiking?
no, actually, traveling has been. I've been really enjoying. I mean, obviously, like moving from different countries and countries, it kind of going hand in hand with traveling. But otherwise, than that, all other sports. I mean, I like soccer, tennis, golf. Where we play a lot of paddle back home in Sweden. The last couple of years has been really big, so that's fun. But obviously, like you look, the last few years, growing up, it was all about hockey, hockey, hockey all the time. And the last few years, I've been trying to get some friends outside of hockey too, and do some different stuff and like experience more different. So I've been enjoying that too for sure. But sports has always been a big part of my life, and it will always be a big part of my life. So
Yeah. And then I do have this question because we were just talking about um, or you had just mentioned about how you're trying to get friends outside of hockey, and I've seen quite a few athletes here in North America be like, oh well, athletes and non-athletes, they can't really be friends, and this and that. And on top of that, we were just talking about mental toughness in a way, and when you're in college, you've got your studies you've got to do. You got to make sure you keep your GPA so you're eligible to play. Um, but then when you're also sort of playing professionally, you have a personal life to deal with. So how do you balance the demands of being a professional athlete with your personal life?
Yeah, I mean it's always hard. I mean, sometimes in college it kind of comes naturally because you have to focus on school and doing other stuff. But after my years in college, I kind of saw that working for me. So I kept on that momentum and kind of like started reading books, taking courses, try to learn stuff like that. It doesn't have to do anything with hockey, just more as on a personal level. Like it's to like still like it's so much focus on developing as a hockey player, but for me, I also want to develop as a person. So I've been trying to do this on the side, and then obviously being a family man. I always try to spend as much time with my family as possible. That always helped me and get my thoughts away from hockey a little bit when I need it. This year, I have another Swedish guy here. He has his family, 2-year-old daughter, in December in a couple of weeks here. So I mean, for me, then I go spend some time with them, and you get to start thinking about other stuff. So yeah, you always find, for me at least, I always find a little bit different ways to do it. But yeah, I try to enjoy the hockey part as much as possible, and then when I have to get some thoughts out of it, I find a way to like think about something else. So
And then sort of some fun questions here before I ask you a few more extra ones. So who's the funniest teammate you have had in your career?
wow, uh, that's a very good question. Actually, I feel like it's always someone that is like pretty funny on every team. Uh, I played with a guy in Norway, Stefan Thulesen. I just thought that guy was naturally hilarious. So maybe him or one of my childhood buddies. He's called Big Mike. He's also really funny. So yeah, but like I said, I feel like every team has you kind of get a most of the times you get a good group of guys, and it's always a few of the guys that is really funny. So I've been enjoying my time for sure.
And then I do have this question because hockey players, they are superstitious. I remember when I was working with UH and you guys were there. My biggest superstition was not to even like talk to you guys before the game, and then if it was a Friday game, I was not talking to you guys till the very next day on Saturday. Still one of the superstitions that I keep from those days. So what is your biggest superstition that you have?
I think it was you had more. I was more superstitious before, but I just thought about it the other day because we talked about it, and I think I've been getting dressed the same way since I started playing hockey. Like it's always the left side first, and then the right side for some reason. I have no idea why. It just makes sense, and it just that's just how it is. So yeah, that's been without thinking about it. That has been the same for every year. So and I'm not gonna change it now. So
And then what with Christmas coming up, what is your favorite meal that your mom cooks or even your dad helps with during the winter season
oh,
that you eat?
actually, my favorite meal was that my during Christmas, my grandma always made turkey like a couple days after Christmas, and that was a big thing for me. And I haven't. She passed away a few years ago, so I haven't had it for a couple of years. So I've been thinking about that. But then I had Thanksgiving dinner a few weeks ago with an American friend. So then it kind of reminded me of that. But that would definitely be the meal. Or of course with Swedish, so the Swedish meatballs never goes wrong, right?
Yeah, I know. I actually, so I normally, I want to say, so I've been trying to cook Swedish meatballs. There's this one Swedish girl I'm trying to impress. Um, I've even started learning Swedish. Like I have a 300 plus day streak on Duolingo trying to learn
Really?
Swedish.
Good for you.
Yes, yes, and I sort of gave up on it for a minute here, but I normally like 1 week I'll have nothing but Swedish meatballs, and then IKEA sells chicken Swedish meatballs, and so I'll have that for the second week or so. But
Yeah,
yeah, Swedish meatballs is one of the best meals of all time. I'll tell you
definitely,
that.
definitely.
What is one of your favorite childhood memories that you've had playing hockey?
Uh, Childhood memories. I mean, I don't really know if it's a childhood memory, but obviously, like in juniors and stuff, we won a couple of championship in under 20s back home. That was a lot of fun. Obviously, winning is always fun. So, uh, but for me, more as a childhood, it was like I remember looking back at it. It was always public skate on Sundays, but it started at 7 in the morning. I wanted to go, and my mom and dad obviously didn't want me to go. So they told the only reason I was allowed to go was if I took care of everything, and they would drive me. So I would wake up early, make my own breakfast, wake them up. They would drive me to the rink and drop me off, and I would usually be the first guy there and get out a couple minutes before they turn the lights off. So that was probably my best childhood moment, just skating by myself a little bit. I used to always love being on the ice, so yeah, it's good stuff.
And who is your most favorite teammate that you've had
Oh,
in your career?
yeah, like I said before, it's that's an easy question since I played with my brother. So yeah, that is very easy. So,
And then, if you could play a game in any arena in the world, where would it be and why?
uh, arena. Actually, I mean, I one thing that I haven't experienced in my career, and I really wanted to experience it, would be an outdoor game. I guess that is not in an arena, but I think that would be a very cool experience, and it's something that I haven't done. So if I can get the opportunity to do that, that would be really exciting. I think, and obviously, if I need to pick an arena, I think MSG is the most famous arena in all of sports. So that would be a crazy place to play for sure.
Yeah, yeah, outdoor games.
Yeah,
They don't tend to like me a lot. I'll tell you that.
why not?
Uh, I went to one game. It was in Cleveland, and I get there, and it's a 1 o'clock start time
Yeah,
in the afternoon, and it's like literally the sun is up. It's not even cloudy. There's no chance of like anything happening. I get there late. I get to the game a little late. It's after warm ups, and of course, as soon as I get there, they're like, "Oh, we are sorry. We're gonna have to delay this game till 6 o'clock in the evening because the sun is shining on the ice too much, and the ice conditions are not playable." So like I was like, you know what? I really can't like I didn't want to leave because I was like, I might as well just stay. So I just took a nap while I was at it, and then as soon as they came out, I was like, oh, this is all fun and games, and yeah, it was fun. They tend to not like me, and then the other one I went to that was outdoors. It just happened that it was like it was also in Cleveland,
yeah,
right by Lake Erie,
yeah.
and it felt like it was negative 30 degrees.
Wow.
um, it was so cold by the lake. Um, but yeah, those outdoor games, if I can finally get them to work with me. Um,
I mean, if I get to play
and,
one, maybe you can come to one and have a good time. So
I know, I know. I am planning, hopefully, one of these days to go into Europe and go visit some people.
yeah,
Um, and definitely go watch a game. I definitely do want to see you play before you retire one of
yeah,
these days.
yeah. That'd
Um,
be fun.
yeah, and then do you have any funny or embarrassing stories from your playing days?
Probably not nothing that we should share on this podcast at least. So
It's all good. Um,
I actually had a tough one today in practice. There was yeah, you know, the rink is pretty warm here, so we had a little there was a little crack in the ice by the boards, and I didn't watch out and skated backwards, so that was pretty fucking embarrassing. Yeah, shit
I,
happens. No, we
I
never.
had a I, oh I had a figure skater 2 weeks ago during public skate, or no, yeah, 2 weeks ago during public skate. They tore out about this much, like literally this much of the ice
Yeah,
out of it, and it was so deep. I was like over there trying to fix it while other people were trying to skate by me. So
that's the problem we have because public skating is very popular here. and it like goes for 8 hours straight on like both Saturdays and Sundays and on Wednesdays. So like they come, and if like it's packed with people, and like it's tough on the ice for so long, and like and then sometimes we get on the next morning, and like yeah, it's not perfect. So but they do a good job and always have it like perfect for the games. But I mean, yeah, a couple of times in practice it's been pretty tough after the public skates actually.
And then we'll get to the last two questions here that I'm going to ask you. If you could give one piece of advice to aspiring hockey players, what would it be?
uh Definitely to just follow your own path in your hockey career. Like obviously, everyone grows up, we want to play in the NHL, but it's so many different ways you can do your hockey career. And look at me, like I've been all over Europe. You have so many opportunities to have a good life and have a lot of fun and like live and play professional hockey. So there is no right or wrong way. Just find the right way for you, and keep working.
And then what's one thing about your hockey journey or the sport in general that you'd like listeners to take away from this conversation?
Oh, yeah. From my personal story, I would say just that the fact that I've been able to like travel all over the world, live all over the world, thanks to hockey, and experience so many cultures, meeting new people, and like just develop as a person, like just because of hockey has been taking me places, and that is something that I value a lot with my story. So, and I hopefully that can inspire other people to do the same.
Well, thank you, Jesper. Thank you for coming on to the podcast today. It was definitely great seeing you. Great catching up with you, and great, for definitely for the podcast to give an insight into what hockey's like in Europe. I definitely want to thank you for this, and maybe we'll do one of these episodes again at the end of your season.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe we do one live in person whenever I'll make it over to Europe one of these days.
Yeah, whenever you're in Europe, you'll come to a game. We'll do one in person for sure.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for having me.